I tried to do it right now. That's correct. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Call the meeting to order. Jim, you gonna lead us in prayer?
Sure. Let us pray. God, grant us the patience to work together with understanding and compassion. Guide us to serve all the people of our community with special consideration to the least of us. Amen.
Thank you. We'll set the approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
We'll move by Ms. Anthony,
Second.
second by Mr. Hart. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Review and approval of meeting minutes from December 13, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Mr. Hart,
Second.
second by Ms. Anthony. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Approval of claims. There are $39,155.18.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Anthony,
Second.
second by Mr. Hart. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Public comment. I don't see any. All right, report to committee. Presiding Judge Hauser, he's not here. I didn't get nothing back. I did text him, he didn't send nothing back. Public defender, on you.
You've got my report, so any questions you have, any bill we generated. Looking into our office, it was a tough year, 2013. We had a lot of, we were shorthanded a better part of the year. We had a lot of illness. A lot of difficult cases that kind of bunched up on us toward the end of the year. And we were kind of looking at the end of the year as kind of the finish line. Get to 2024 and things will lighten up. And they have. Judge Schorsch is currently on a couple weeks vacation. He'll return Thursday the 18th. He's the felony judge, so at least trials and things that were scheduled, major hearings were, we've got a couple breaks here and believe me, we could use it. We have 4 attorneys now, myself included in my office. That's as many as I've ever had when I've been here. We are approved for 1 more starting this year. So the hunt is on. So far, so good.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? Thank you. Probation.
Hello. So currently we still have 1 vacancy in our department to fill. That is for a juvenile officer. Overall, despite having some staff shortages, things are going very well. We are continuing to work with OSPS on transitioning for them to take over our pretrial services. So I stand corrected from the last meeting because I was 99% sure that one of our officers was going to take it. And at this point, I do know that the first candidate did decline. He indicated that he's happy in probation, and the only way that he would leave is if they made an offer that he couldn't refuse. So he will be staying with the department. I do know they've gone on to a second candidate in our office. We had 2 internals apply, and I'm waiting to hear back. Outside of that, as I stated, things are going well with the transition process. We're looking forward to it. Judge Hauser is very excited about this process and looking at the savings that we can do in probation, as well as how it will benefit the judges in terms of what they can do more than what we can do. So that is my report.
Any comments or questions? If none, okay, thank you. State's attorney.
All right, you've got my report. It's been a pretty exhausting last month. Got the hours really only got them from 3 attorneys because the other 2 were so new that they hadn't really started collecting yet. One of those attorneys was Shiva Lennon Rios, who turned in 59 hours of overtime in December, which I believe was partially a jury trial she did, where at least 1 and maybe 2 nights she slept in the office to just make sure she could get all the work done and get everything done right. So we're getting to the point where we've got a pretty good crew of ASAs. We're incredibly lucky to have them. And we're hopeful things will start to calm down a little bit here.
Wow.
Any questions?
You say she slept in the office?
Definitely
Wow.
one night. The other night, her husband may have come and got her and brought her home. I'm not sure. But if she went home that night, it was only for a few hours. And then she just went right back to work, so.
She's an incredible asset to the courthouse and that office. I mean, she's with not a ton of experience. I mean, this was her first job with Carl a couple of years ago. She's sort of become the child sex offense is kind of her forte. And very early on, she was stepping into major cases that needed some special attention. And yeah, she's a real asset to the community. And if I might, Carl,
No, go ahead.
there's one of Carl's new guys, Ben Davis, is it?
And David.
David, this guy, I mean, I would love to get a guy like this. He's from Freeport, and he's got experience both with the public defender's office and the state's attorney's office and the private practice. And so he came here. This guy's a big old bruiser. He should, so he's got the right look for a prosecutor, but he knows what he's doing. He's not someone that's, well, we're going to train him, then we'll see what happens from there, which is usually what we get to work with. So kudos. I don't know how you got that one, but that was a good pick.
I'm a little nervous now because the last hire you made was an ASA.
He's got his eye.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go start bad mouthing you. He hits his attorneys. You know.
Carl, I know it's on your report here, you said in November you had 57 work calls outside business office and December 31.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, what type of calls do you get?
It runs the gambit. The most frequent calls is law enforcement advice and felony approval calls. So every felony that we charge, before that's charged, somebody calls our office and runs the facts by us, and we kind of work together and come up with the appropriate charges. But I mean, it can also be county board stuff or, any manner of things that my office deals with, but primarily it's felony approval and kind of collaboration with law enforcement.
Okay.
How's the Safety Act? How's that going?
Exhausting.
Okay.
In reality, it is a ton of work. It's a ton of work for everybody, for the judges, for the public defender's office, for us. And people are still being detained. It's shifted who's being detained. I'm hopeful that it can be adjusted more in the future and we can get to a point where the right people are being detained. Certainly some of the right people are being detained right now, and our judges are doing a good job with it, but it's really too early to tell. And appeals have started coming out fast and furious. Byron and I had an argument a couple of weeks back where, it was like one sentence from one case that was just phrased a certain way, and it just was a crack for Byron to get into there. And then, fortunately for me, there's 10 or 12 cases decided between the time when he filed his motion and when the argument happened, which was not very long. It was like a week. There's like 12 new cases on the issue. And so, even that aspect of it, just keeping up with the appellate court, which, every day there's a case or two that comes out, which Doesn't sound like that much, but when you put it on top of everything else, and if you're really gonna digest one of these things, it's 15 or 20 minutes, and oh, it's a lot of due process, which is great when you're not the one who has to do it.
Okay.
Byron, what about you?
Well, in my opinion, I could probably say a little more than Carl, but it's going poorly. It's not going well. I was not an advocate, and I am a criminal defense attorney to the core. My clients are my most prized possession in my career, but I was not an advocate of this when it came in. At one point, the committee that came around, the Supreme Court committee, Carl spoke to them. I was in a library, actually.
I remember, yeah.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. We don't need this. You know, we're small enough that people aren't lingering in jail. We don't need this. So now that it's been passed, we got to deal with it. In my humble opinion, that the Pretrial Fairness Act is not being applied by our courts the way the legislature intended it. The appellate courts are sanctioning that. They're not saying, no, so my clients are not being better served. They're being held longer because of this. There's not less of them being detained. That was the intent of it, I believe. It's a bunch more work, uncompensated. I mean, every day you could spend 3 hours on work that you had not scheduled, that you just got told about that morning, regardless of whatever else you might have had to do that day. So, I'll go on record, not a fan, you know, and it's here to stay. So, I think what needs to happen is either that law needs to change, or we need to start applying it as it is written, you know, or as it was intended, I should say.
Well, we'll move on to the circuit clerk, and I seen you nodding your head over there too. What's your thought?
Oh, I disagree with both of them. I mean, it's a lot more work and still confusing trying to figure out what paperwork's supposed to be done and who's gonna be seen and everything, so.
Okay.
But you should have my report if you have any questions. Not a whole lot going on. I did apply for the grant. It's $189,841.78. Carroll County received their grant approval today, so hopefully I'll be getting an answer here in the near future. I have 3, we are hiring for Steve Jers that retired. He was here 16 years. We had 3 candidates. We asked that they do a job shadow and sit in the courtroom, because there are some people that just do not want to be up next to the judge in that environment. So I had 1 job shadow last week. I had to cancel the job shadows yesterday, 2 more at the end of this week, and then hopefully next week we'll offer it to somebody and get that position filled.
Okay.
That's it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question on the Safety Act for everyone that commented. You're saying that it's not, you don't believe it's operating in the way it was intended.
Correct.
What's the disconnect? What's different?
What's not being applied properly, in my opinion? Should we get going there, Carl? Should we get?
Yeah, so a debate is about to happen.
There was a scare when this act was announced, because it was read and the common folks said, whoa, here, everyone that's in jail is just going to get let out. And to a certain extent, that was how the law was written. And we might not agree with it. In fact, it's pretty clear that the courts don't agree with it, and that they'll do whatever to not follow that. But there were defendants that were held in jail, and the only thing they had to do was pay bond money to get out.
Right.
Now, the truth of the matter is we were oversetting bonds, so some people really weren't able to get to bond out. But the act was basically, if the only thing that you had to do to get out of jail when this act came into effect was to post money, you don't have to post money now. You just get out of jail. Let's figure out what conditions will protect the public. Ankle monitor, or whatever, you know. So there are some defendants who were held that were denied bond. So that didn't apply to them, although they should be able to get another hearing. There is a heavy emphasis on all the pretrial conditions. There's supposed to be a presumption of letting defendants be released.
Mhm.
And in my humble perspective, courts and judges aren't ready to do that. They're not ready to say, well, yeah, but gosh, post nothing and get out. I mean,
Mhm.
we're just not, but believe me, I didn't ask for this and I don't want it. But the way that it was intended, in my opinion, is not what's being applied. There's more people being held now, and at least in Winnebago County than before.
Mhm.
Now, maybe that's because there's a surge in crime or some other reason.
Mhm.
People are being held longer up front to be able to see a judge, see a lawyer, get this hearing that they're entitled to, and all these rights applied. I don't think that was the intent, and as you can tell, you got me going here. So, Carl, you could maybe have the. All right, sorry, Jim. That's anyway.
No, I'm just curious because my understanding was always it's supposed to be risk-based, as opposed to pro forma or
Monetary
financially
correct.
based, you know, so that seems like a good thing, particularly, you know, with the presumption of innocence.
Yes.
I mean, I don't see as where it's good to incarcerate people that aren't a threat to society. I think maybe we're seeing something different in our county because it's a smaller county. I mean, we don't have an overcrowded county jail, as I understand it, or the difficulties that you see in Cook County and those types of areas. So, you know, I think you had said it was, in essence, you had said it wasn't as necessary here. You know, maybe it's not a good thing in Stephenson County.
No.
But I would think it is in some other places like Cook County and maybe Winnebago.
Yeah, if you're a huge enough county that you can't keep track of who's in jail and how long they've been there and we had our finger on the pulse here. People weren't just lingering in jail.
Right.
For, you know, just unattended to because they couldn't afford a minor bond, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, for real.
So
if it's gonna be the law, I think we should do what the legislature intended. And I'm on the short end of this argument.
Mm-hmm.
In our courts and the appellate court, all right, I can turn into a court.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we go on and on and on and on. I would just keep,
Well, please
The ma-
contact me, Jim, or anybody who wants to
Yeah.
discuss this, and I'd be happy to, you know, or in
the
any
major
form.
person, the major person should be asking is the judge, but he's not here, so, but anyway. Just wanna kinda just get a feel of just how things are going, you know, but, I can tell this is going on and on and on, and I'm not for no long meeting, so, so we go from there. Okay, youth diversion fees of $5,395.24. Have we got any reports back from anybody?
Not any reports since the last, one that was included last month. I believe that was the last one
Yeah.
from last disbursement. I have
Okay.
had, 2 agencies contact me, just making sure we were still planning on the April 1st,
Okay,
submission date. So
okay,
already,
Okay.
some interest, being generated.
okay. Okay, there's no old business, so we'll go to new business, approval of RFPs for purchase of an SUV for probation.
I don't know what else I need to add to what's already been presented before you. The request for proposal was included in your package, so we are seeking basically to get a small to mid-size 4-door SUV.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah,
Did you happen to look at state bids by any chance?
I did look at that briefly, but as you know, probation has in the past purchased all the vehicles themselves, and we have established some good relationships with some local dealerships, and I really wanted to give them an opportunity to have a chance to get involved and help kind of the local businesses, so.
Because that's why they set up the state bids to save the municipalities and counties money and stuff like that. My next question is, and once the motion gets put on the ground, I might amend it, so.
I'll make the motion to.
This goes as well. It's been moved. We're looking for a wait. Second. It's been moved and seconded by Mr. Hart. Question?
Yes, I want to amend this motion. I want the county to start getting into the habit with these RFPs 30 days or more. So I'm going to amend it to that the proposed date be February 9th and the public opening on February 12th. That's my motion, amend that.
I'll second.
Been moved and second. Question?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna go ahead. We are closed on February 12th, and that would occur in the Stephenson County probation.
Well, then we'll move the third, then instead of the 12th, the 13th, because that gives you the day to bring it back into, the next day will be our meeting then.
Just speaking from historical knowledge, the last time the assessor's office was trying to get bids, and it was a used vehicle, so I don't know if it's a different ballgame, but they were offering the inventory they had, and they responded in a shorter time frame because if they had someone there to buy it, it was gone. So with the vehicle, I don't know, but local dealerships are gonna respond with the inventory they have on hand. And I don't know what their appetite would be to hold it for 30 days, so that's my only comment. I know that was a problem when Ron Kane purchased the last vehicle for his department.
Well, won't they just respond with the inventory they have on hand at a later date?
Well, if we have to approve the bid that's
Okay.
submitted,
But just
Right,
let
but
them
we're
know.
just talking about giving them 30 days.
to respond.
I say. I'm
You're
sorry,
saying to respond.
to respond. And I think that that's always a good idea in terms of a minimum. I mean, some of the things that we take out for RFP, 30 days is inadequate. This is probably not as necessary as many of those things.
Right.
But I think 30 days is always a good opportunity. You know, I don't know, is there anything in the statute that requires 30 days or a minimum of 15 days, or does anybody know?
Well, I can look it up for you here.
This is an amount of money that would be the state statute rather than our county statute, so.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Is this replacing the van, Doctor?
Mhm. Yeah, we won't get much for it, but.
What is the van used for?
Basically, all of our vehicles are used for our probation officers to conduct home visits, to take clients to treatment centers,
I see.
for trainings.
So we're transporting people?
Yeah, we're transporting,
Okay.
yeah. Doctor's appointments, et cetera.
There does not appear to be a time frame in the state statute. Let me look at the county code.
Is there a reason why you wanted to open it on the 29th of January?
No, I just, picked a date. I utilized the, previous example as far as the time frame.
Maybe opening it closer to a meeting date makes more sense too.
The county code
That does,
requires
yeah,
at
that
least
part.
5 days prior to the bid opening.
What I'm finding online, for RFPs for vehicle purchase, for the most part, are approximately 2 weeks. But I agree with what Ms. Newcomer just said, having it closer to the meeting, because, and maybe that's something that we can add in the RFP, that, possible approval would be February, was it 14th? Is that what you said, Bill?
Well, it has to go to the county board too then.
Yeah, but I mean, we're
Yeah.
not, there's not gonna be that
Yeah.
lag.
Yeah, so I mean, we meet on the 14th of February, this committee, and then it has to go to the board. So, I mean, there might be multiple people putting in for this, so they're gonna have to realize that it can't be approved till the county board approves it.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah,
All in favor?
aye.
All opposed? All right.
Was that the vote on the amendment?
That was
That's
just the
the
amendment.
amendment.
That's the amendment,
Okay.
so it's 30 days. Is that
Now,
correct? Isn't that
Yep,
what we're voting on?
Yes.
So you have to approve the main motion. Mr. Bush,
we gotta get a motion on that,
you
right?
already have the motion.
We already have all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. There's nothing else. Any public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
The move,
Second.
second by Miss Anthony. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hey. I'm close.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
I'm close.
You were delayed at the beginning.